The Grand Galactic Concord was a marvel of cosmic engineering, a testament to the collective intelligence of hundreds of sentient species working in perfect harmony. It spanned across 17 galactic sectors, encompassing over 12,000 inhabited worlds, and was governed by an administrative apparatus so vast and intricate that it required its own artificial moon to house just the central archives. The GGC, as it was commonly abbreviated, functioned with a precision that would make the most sophisticated clockwork mechanism seem chaotic by comparison. Every decision, from the allocation of interstellar shipping lanes to the resolution of complex diplomatic disputes, was made according to protocols that had been refined over millennia, each step meticulously documented and categorized. Conflicts within the Concord were not the messy, emotional affairs that primitive civilizations engaged in. They were calculated exercises in game theory, with predefined parameters, regulated escalation thresholds, and predetermined endpoints. Wars, when they did occur, were more akin to complex mathematical proofs than actual combat. The outcome was often determined before the first ship even left orbit, both sides having calculated the probability matrix to 50 decimal places. Peace treaties weren't emotional reconciliations, but rather elegant algorithms that balanced resources and influence with perfect equity. The Cthar, with their hyper-evolved cerebral structures that allowed for simultaneous processing of up to 12 distinct logical threads, serve as the Concord's premier strategists. Their massive, bulbous heads housed neural networks that could visualize entire conflict scenarios in perfect detail, predicting enemy movements with an accuracy that bordered on precognition. The Sylvani, slender beings composed of a crystalline structure that allowed them to manipulate emotional wavelengths, were the unparalleled diplomatic core of the GGC. They could project empathic fields that detected the slightest hint of deception or hostility, making them invaluable in negotiation settings. Unit 734, a collective consciousness of artificial intelligences that had evolved beyond their original programming over 3,000 years ago, handled risk assessment for the Concord, continuously monitoring billions of data points to identify potential threats to galactic stability. The Concord, in its collective wisdom, believed it had accounted for every variable in the cosmos. Its central computational arrays had modeled the life cycle of stars, the migratory patterns of space-dwelling organisms, and even the emotional fluctuations of newly integrated species. There was a protocol for everything, from first contact with pre-FTL civilizations to the ethical disposal of extinct species' cultural artifacts. Nothing could surprise the GGC, or so they believed. This complacency was precisely why the appearance of an unidentified object at the edge of Sector 9, Quadrant 17, caused such consternation among the monitoring stations. It was small, barely registering on the long-range sensors, and moving at a speed that suggested primitive propulsion technology. Initial scans classified it as space debris, possibly a fragment of an asteroid that had been deflected from its natural orbit by a solar flare. But then it changed course, slightly, but deliberately. Reclassification necessary, intoned the synthesized voice of the monitoring station's AI. Object exhibits characteristics of artificial construction with rudimentary guidance systems. The duty officer, a Cthar named Zelprax whose 8 eyes blinked in perfect alternating sequence, leaned forward in his gravity couch. Identify origin and intent, he commanded, 2 of his 12 manipulator tentacles adjusting the sensor array for higher resolution. Origin, unknown. Intent, unknown. Object contains unusual energy signature consistent with outdated nuclear decay power sources. Object is emitting irregular electromagnetic pulses in a pattern that does not match any known communication protocol in the database. Zelprax's skin flushed a deep purple, the Cthar equivalent of a frown. Forward all data to central analysis. Classification, anomaly, priority level 3. What Zelprax could not know, was that the object was Voyager 3.0, an automated exploration probe launched from Earth nearly 3 centuries earlier. Unlike its predecessors, Voyager 3.0 had been equipped with a primitive artificial intelligence system designed to make basic navigational decisions and collect data on cosmic phenomena of interest. Its main databanks contain a compressed version of Wikipedia circa 2079, a comprehensive database of Earth's major cultural works, and, due to a programmer's whimsical sense of humor, the complete I Can Has Cheeseburger cat meme archive that had been popular in the early 21st century. The probe had long since lost contact with Earth, its communication systems damaged by a micrometeorite impact some 20 years into its mission. But its core programming remained intact. Explore, record, and attempt to make contact with any intelligent life it might encounter. After drifting through the void for centuries, its sensors had detected the energy signatures of the GGC monitoring station, triggering its first contact protocols. The message that Voyager 3.0 broadcast was a cobbled-together greeting created by its AI from fragments of data in its memory banks. Hello, cosmic neighbor, stop. We come in peace, stop. Would you like to know more about cats? They are Earth Supreme Overlords. LOL. Stop. PS. Check out this sick beat. Stop. This was followed by a 30-second clip of Gangnam Style, a piece of music that had, for reasons incomprehensible even to humans, been deemed culturally significant enough to include in the probe's database. At the central analysis hub of the GGC, the message caused immediate chaos. The Cathar analysts could find no logical structure in the communication. The Sylvanian path could detect no emotional coherence. Unit 734 assigned a 97.8% probability that this was some form of encrypted communication designed to conceal hostile intent. The syntax is nonsensical, declared lead analyst Vorthak, whose 16 brain lobes throbbed with effort. It references biological entities called cats as supreme overlords, suggesting a hierarchical military structure. It appends a symbol that our linguistics database suggests indicates humor or derision. Is it a threat disguised as levity? A psychological warfare tactic? The situation became even more complicated when Voyager 3.0, having depleted significant power reserves in its attempt at communication, initiated an automatic maintenance cycle. This involved venting small amounts of waste heat and trace gases that had accumulated in its systems, a routine procedure designed to prevent internal corrosion of its components. Among these gases were minute quantities of microorganisms from Earth that had survived in dormant states within the probe's internal systems, primarily extremophile bacteria and spores that could withstand the harsh conditions of space. These microscopic Earth natives were expelled in a fine mist, which, carried by the solar winds, drifted toward a nearby GGC research station. This station, operated by the Xyler, a species whose biology was based on pure silicon matrices and whose culture was obsessively focused on achieving perfect sterility in all environments, was dedicated to studying absolute purity in various electromagnetic spectra. The station's atmospheric filters, designed to capture even single molecules of contaminants, rapidly collected the Earth microbes. The reaction was immediate and severe. The Xyler researchers, whose silicon-based immune systems had never encountered carbon-based microorganisms, experienced what could only be described as system-wide allergic reactions. Their crystalline structures began to vibrate at irregular frequencies, causing visual distortions in their sensory arrays and generating error messages throughout their neural networks. Nothing fatal, but extraordinarily uncomfortable. The senior researcher, a distinguished Xyler named Purity, through Precision 7891, dispatched an emergency signal to GGC headquarters, Research Station X-17 experiencing biological contamination from unknown source. Indigenous personnel suffering sensory disruptions and cognitive impairment. Preliminary analysis indicates deliberate introduction of biological agents designed to target silicon-based life forms with extreme specificity. Request immediate containment response and countermeasures. Unit 734, upon receiving this report, conducted a rapid cross-reference of known pathogens and delivery mechanisms. Finding no match in its extensive database, it calculated a 97.8% probability that this represented an intentional attack utilizing previously unknown biological weapons. This conclusion was immediately relayed to the GGC Security Council, triggering automated defense protocols. Thus, a small probe's routine maintenance procedure was interpreted as a sophisticated biological attack, and humanity's first contact with the galactic community began with a serious misunderstanding. The GGC Security Council, operating according to Protocol 17.3.b for unknown hostile entities of indeterminate technological capacity, dispatched the Preliminary Deterrence and Survey Task Force. The PDSD consisted of 12 scout vessels equipped with non-lethal weaponry, advanced sensor arrays, and translation matrices capable of deciphering any known form of communication. Their mission parameters were clear: assess the threat level, establish communication if possible, and compel the unknown entity to comply with standard first contact procedures. Commander Klax of the Cthar, whose military lineage stretched back 17 generations, led the task force with the calm assurance that came from having run over 10,000 combat simulations in his career without a single actual engagement. The GGC's overwhelming technological superiority had rendered actual combat obsolete for centuries. Most battles were resolved by simply displaying force capability until the inferior party capitulated. Approach vector calculated for minimal threat posture, Klax announced to his crew. Initiate first contact communication sequence alpha. The PDSD ships arranged themselves in a perfect dodecahedron formation around Voyager 3.0, their hulls glowing with a soft blue light designed to convey peaceful intent while simultaneously demonstrating advanced energy manipulation capabilities. They transmitted a series of mathematical sequences, beginning with simple prime numbers and progressing to complex differential equations, followed by astronomical charts showing the major star systems of the GGC. Voyager 3.0's rudimentary AI interpreted this incoming data stream according to its limited parameters. The mathematical sequences registered as a verification challenge, similar to the CAPTCHA systems used in ancient computer security protocols. The astronomical charts were categorized as unsolicited promotional material. Lacking appropriate response protocols for either, the probe defaulted to its tertiary contact routine, sharing cultural information. It broadcast a random selection from its database: 15 images of cats with humorous captions, a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, and a 3-minute excerpt for a popular Earth music track titled Baby Shark. The PDSD communication officers were baffled. "Commander," reported Senior Communications Specialist Ziv Trau, "the entity is responding with what appears to be juvenile educational material intermingled with culinary instructions and repetitive sound patterns. We can detect no coherent information transfer protocol." Klax's tentacles twitched in irritation. "Apply deeper linguistic analysis. This must be a form of encryption." Meanwhile, Voyager 3.0 was facing an energy crisis. Its ancient nuclear power source was operating at less than 15% efficiency after centuries in space, and the recent communication efforts had drained its reserves. Following its programming, the probe automatically deployed its supplementary solar collector arrays, massive, reflective panels designed to capture energy from distant stars to recharge its systems during deep space exploration. These panels, unfolding in sequence, created a brief but intense flash of reflected starlight that swept across the formation of PDSD ships. This momentary glare overloaded the hypersensitive optical sensors of the GGC vessels, causing a millisecond of blindness in their observation systems and a temporary data loss. "Optical weapons!" exclaimed Tactical Officer Renzor, his normally blue skin blanching to a pale cyan. "The entity has deployed a directional light-based attack against our sensory arrays." Commander Klax's tactical training immediately categorized this as a classic diversionary tactic. It's attempting to blind us before its main assault. Defensive positions prepare countermeasures. In reality, Voyager 3.0 was simply trying to charge its batteries, completely unaware of the panic it was causing among the advanced alien fleet surrounding it. Following standard GGC escalation procedures, CLACS authorized Level 1 deterrence measure, a warning shot designed to demonstrate superior firepower without causing damage. A single PDSD vessel fired a precisely calibrated energy beam that passed within 50 meters of Voyager's hull, creating a spectacular display of ionized particles, but posing no actual threat to the probe. Voyager 3.0's outdated meteorological sensors registered this energy beam as anomalous stellar phenomenon, possible solar flare variant. Its scientific programming, overriding all other functions, automatically adjusted its course to better observe this interesting cosmic event. The course correction sent the probe drifting directly toward a region of space that, unbeknownst to it, was a designated high-security transit corridor for GGC military vessels. To Commander CLACS and his tactical team, this maneuver appeared not only deliberate, but provocatively aggressive. The entity is advancing directly toward Corridor 7. It's ignored our warning and is challenging our territorial boundary. This represents clear escalation beyond initial hostility parameters. The PDSD's report to GGC headquarters painted a disturbing picture. An unknown entity of indeterminate origin had launched a biological attack against a research station, followed by electronic countermeasures against a peaceful contact mission, and was now advancing toward a strategic military corridor despite clear deterrent signals. The report concluded with a tactical assessment. Entity exhibits sophisticated multi-vector attack capability disguised as primitive technology. Recommend immediate containment with full defensive authorization. The GGC Security Council, facing what appeared to be an unprecedented security threat, activated the Proactive Containment Force, a full battle fleet comprised of 72 warships equipped with the Concorde's most advanced weapon systems. The PCF was tasked with neutralizing the unidentified entity and securing any technology or intelligence that might explain its origins and capabilities. Admiral Zexhar, a veteran Kthar strategist who had authored the GGC's definitive text on asymmetric warfare, despite never having participated in actual combat, developed a comprehensive battle plan consisting of 72 discrete steps. The plan accounted for every conceivable response from the mysterious adversary, except for the possibility that the adversary had no plan at all. The operation will proceed in cascading precision phases, Admiral Zexhar explained to his command staff, his tentacles gesturing at the holographic battle simulation. Phase 1. Envelope the entity in a Type 7 containment field to neutralize potential propulsion systems. Phase 2. Deploy broad-spectrum communication jammers to prevent it from calling reinforcements. Phase 3. Systematic neutralization of observed weapons capabilities. Phase 4. Secure the entity for transport to Examination Facility Omega. The PCF fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding Voyager 3.0 in a three-dimensional grid pattern designed to prevent any possible escape vector. The flagship Inevitable Certainty projected a powerful energy field, invisible to normal optical sensors but denser than solid matter, to ensnare the probe. Voyager 3.0, suddenly finding itself unable to maintain its course due to the resistance of the energy field, registered an error condition in its navigation system. This triggered an ancient defensive protocol that had been included by an eccentric engineer with a passion for 20th century music, the Staying Alive subroutine. This program, designed as a last resort measure for unknown space phenomena, directed the probe to emit a series of randomized electromagnetic pulses timed to the rhythm of the Bee Gees' 1977 disco hit. These pulses, while feeble by GGC standards, happened to resonate at a frequency that interfered with the precise harmonics of the containment field. This created localized fluctuations in the energy barrier, nothing that would allow escape, but enough to cause power surges throughout the PCF fleet's integrated systems. Several warships experienced momentary propulsion failures, causing them to drift out of their precisely calculated positions. The automated targeting systems on 3 vessels, receiving conflicting data inputs due to the electromagnetic interference, activated and fired low-yield defensive charges. Not at Voyager, but at other ships in the fleet whose signatures have been misidentified as hostile. "We're under attack," reported Tactical Coordinator Vishtal, his voice rising an octave in alarm. "The entity has deployed an electronic warfare system capable of disrupting our formation integrity and compromising our weapons safeguards." Admiral Zexhar, witnessing his perfect battle plan dissolve into chaos within minutes of engagement, struggled to comprehend the tactical brilliance of his opponent. "It's deliberately inducing system failures to turn our own weapons against us. This is beyond any known strategy paradigm." The Silvani Emotional Analysis Team, attempting to decipher the psychological warfare aspects of the attack, reported only cognitive static, a deliberate projection of emotional chaos designed to confuse empathic analysis. Unit 734, observing the unfolding scenario, calculated a disturbing conclusion. The entity employs nonlinear combat algorithms that defy conventional response matrices. Each apparent weakness masks a sophisticated trap. Recommended course of action: full strategic withdrawal pending complete paradigm reassessment. Meanwhile, inside Voyager 3.0, the strain of continuous electromagnetic pulse generation was causing critical power drain. The probe's AI, following its emergency protocols, determined that immediate evasive action was necessary. It calculated an emergency FTL jump to what it designated as safe coordinates, a location derived from astronomical data stored in its memory banks. Specifically, it used the star pattern from Vincent van Gogh's The Starry Night, which had been included in its cultural database, to triangulate a destination far from what it perceived as a dangerous cosmic storm. By sheer cosmic coincidence, these coordinates corresponded almost exactly with the location of GGC Prime, the massive space station that served as the administrative and military headquarters of the entire Concorde. Voyager activated its ancient and barely functional faster-than-light drive, a primitive version that created a crude wormhole rather than the elegant dimensional shifts used by GGC vessels. The probe vanished from amidst of the confused PCF fleet, leaving behind only a brief burst of exotic particles and 72 warships firing at shadows. Admiral Zexhar stared at the empty space where the entity had been. It escaped through dimensions we weren't monitoring. His skin darkened to a deep purple of professional embarrassment. Alert GGC Prime. The entity has demonstrated transdimensional technology beyond our current threat assessment parameters. At GGC Prime, the Central Defense Command was in the midst of reviewing the disturbing reports from the PCF when alarms blared throughout the station. External sensors detected a dimensional anomaly forming directly in front of the station's main observation deck, a crude but effective wormhole exit point. Voyager 3.0 emerged from its emergency FTL jump, its systems nearly depleted of power, directly in front of the most heavily defended installation in the known galaxy. The probe's navigational thrusters, operating on minimum power, attempted to stabilize its position, causing it to drift slowly toward the massive space station. Supreme Commander Zalvor of the GGC Defense Forces watched in horror as the mysterious entity that had allegedly attacked a research station, defeated a task force, and scattered a battle fleet appeared without warning at the very heart of the Concorde. All defensive systems to maximum. Prepare for imminent attack. But Voyager 3.0, its power reserves critically low after the emergency jump, could barely maintain its systems. It continued to drift, unresponsive, directly toward one of the massive communication arrays extending from GGC Prime, a forest of delicate antennas and sensor dishes that connected the headquarters to every corner of the galaxy. "It's on a collision course with the primary communication nexus," reported Sensor Chief Ziltex. "Impact in 30 seconds. Destroy it," ordered Supreme Commander Zalvor, but his tactical officers hesitated. "Sir, our defensive weapons cannot fire without risking damage to the Nexus. The entity is too close." They watched, helpless, as Voyager 3.0 gently bumped against one of the enormous antenna structures. The collision was hardly catastrophic, equivalent to a feather touching a steel beam, but it was enough to snap one of the more delicate secondary relay spines protruding from the main antenna. This broken antenna was part of the emergency communication system, specifically the backup transmitter for the Omega Command Protocol, a rarely mentioned contingency designed to instantly halt all military action in a given sector to prevent catastrophic escalation during a crisis. The protocol had never been activated in the Concorde's history. It existed purely as a final safeguard against war spiraling beyond containment. When the antenna broke, the system interpreted this as a physical trigger, a manual activation of the Omega Protocol in case all standard communication channels had failed. The system automatically broadcast the highest priority signal in the GGC communication spectrum, Omega Protocol activated. All military units cease hostilities immediately. Return to nearest base for further instructions. This signal spread outward at superluminal speeds, reaching every GGC vessel in the sector within moments. The PCF fleet, still trying to make sense of their opponent's disappearance, received the Omega Protocol with utter confusion. Omega Protocol? Admiral Zexhar's skin paled to near white. That's impossible. Only the Supreme Command can authorize Omega. This must be another electronic warfare attack. But the authentication codes embedded in the signal were genuine, verified by multiple redundant security systems. Following their training, the PCF captains had no choice but to comply. Weapons were powered down. Shields were deactivated. The entire fleet began an orderly withdrawal toward their respective bases. At GGC Prime, pandemonium reigned as officials tried to understand why the Omega Protocol had activated. An emergency session of the Security Council was convened, with representatives from all major species in attendance. The entity has somehow triggered our ultimate failsafe, reported Defense Minister Krelvox, his tendrils writhing in distress. It penetrated our most secure systems with minimal contact. This represents technological sophistication beyond anything we've encountered. The Silvani Diplomatic Corps, led by Grand Empath Ileana, suggested a new approach. This entity has demonstrated overwhelming superiority in multiple domains. It defeated our biological defenses, outwitted our tactical forces, and now penetrated our command infrastructure. Yet it has not destroyed us when it clearly could have. We must consider the possibility that these were not attacks, but attempts at communication that we have misinterpreted. Unit 734 presented its analysis, recalculating with new parameters. Probability that entity represents advanced intelligence utilizing chaos theory as basis for strategic operations, 99.9%. Recommended course of action, diplomatic engagement on entity's terms. Meanwhile, Voyager 3.0 had finally come to rest against the communications array, its systems in hibernation mode to conserve what little power remained. Its external sensors continued to function at minimum capacity, recording everything around it for later analysis, should it ever return to Earth. After much debate, the GGC Security Council authorized a diplomatic mission to approach the entity. Led by the most accomplished Silvani negotiators and supported by Kthar analysts, the mission approached Voyager with extreme caution. "We come in peace," transmitted the Silvani delegation using every known communication protocol simultaneously. "We acknowledge your superior capabilities and wish to establish formal relations." Voyager 3.0, detecting the incoming transmission, roused from its hibernation state and activated its response protocols. Drawing from its limited database, it replied with, "Hello, friendly space people, stop, energy levels critical, stop. Have you tried turning it OFF? And on again ? Stop here is how TO make perfect pizza : What followed was a detailed pizza recipe, complete with variations for thin or thick crust, and several riddles from a children's joke book that had somehow been included in the cultural database. The Silvani empaths, attempting to read the emotional subtext of this message, reported only a sense of benign satisfaction. which was actually just the probe's optimization algorithms running a routine diagnostic. For 7 days, the finest minds in the GGC attempted to decipher what they believed was an elaborate diplomatic code. They responded with mathematical proofs, philosophical treatises, and detailed accounts of GGC history, only to receive what appeared to be random cultural artifacts in return: pop song lyrics, excerpts from 20th century television shows, and occasionally, more cat pictures. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Junior linguistics specialist Traucon, a young Thar who had been considered somewhat eccentric for his interest in dead languages and ancient encryption methods, requested permission to examine the entity's transmission patterns from a different perspective. "I believe we're overthinking this," Traucon suggested to the increasingly frustrated diplomatic team. "What if the entity isn't using encryption or advanced communication theories? What if it's simply sending exactly what it means to send?" Given the lack of progress, his superiors allowed him to pursue this unorthodox approach. Traucon analyzed the raw data structure of the transmissions, ignoring the content itself, and discovered a pattern consistent with early digital information storage systems. Following this thread, he was able to access a basic directory structure within Voyager's still-functioning database. His discovery sent shockwaves through the GGC. "It's not a warship," Traucon reported to the stunned Security Council. "It's an automated exploration probe. Its weapons systems are non-existent. Its biological attack was accidental waste expulsion. Its electronic warfare capability was a power conservation measure. Its dimensional jump was a desperation move using outdated technology. It's been trying to share information with us, not attack us." The revelation that the GGC, with all its military might and intellectual prowess, had been brought to its knees by an unarmed, automated probe operating on minimum power and following basic programming was beyond humiliating. It was paradigm-shifting. "How could this happen?" demanded Supreme Commander Zalvor, his skin cycling through shades of disbelief. "Our analysis was comprehensive. Our procedures were followed perfectly." The revelations continued as Traucon deciphered more of Voyager's database. The probe had been built by a species called humans from a planet called Earth, located in an unremarkable star system in the galactic periphery. These humans had no faster-than-light travel capabilities when they launched the probe, no significant presence beyond their own solar system, and no knowledge of the GGC's existence. "So we were defeated," Admiral Zexhar said slowly, "by a primitive probe from a pre-contact civilization that didn't even know it was fighting a war." "Not defeated," corrected Diplomatic Minister Ileana of the Silvani. "Humbled and educated. This probe, operating on simple parameters without adaptive intelligence, demonstrated something our perfect logical systems failed to account for: the power of randomness, misunderstanding, and unintended consequences." In the weeks that followed, the GGC underwent a fundamental reassessment of its most basic assumptions. The Security Council secretly drafted what became known as the Human Factor Protocol, a new approach to unknown situations that acknowledged the existence of factors entirely outside logical prediction and control. The protocol stated, in part, when encountering phenomena of unknown origin, standard probability matrices must be supplemented with consideration for entirely random or coincidental factors. The appearance of chaos may conceal patterns beyond current analytical frameworks, or may indeed be true chaos, equally dangerous in either case. A corollary, unofficially known as the Voyager Principle, was added to all military training. Victory and defeat may occur independent of intent. An adversary may win without trying, or even knowing, that conflict exists. As for Voyager 3.0, the GGC's finest engineers carefully repaired its damaged systems, fascinated by the elegant simplicity of its ancient technology. The database was copied for extensive study, with particular attention paid to the cat memes that so perplexed GGC xenobiologists. Was this some form of religious iconography? A military code system? A psychological conditioning program? Once repaired, Voyager 3.0 was ceremoniously escorted to the edge of GGC space by an honor guard of ships. Before releasing it to continue its journey into the cosmos, the GGC uploaded a final message, translated into the simplest visual language they could devise. Thank you for visiting. Please do not return. Or, if you must, please provide advance notice. As Voyager 3.0 disappeared into the depths of space, continuing its endless journey among the stars, it carried with it not only its original database of human culture, cat memes, and pizza recipes, but also the distinction of having single-handedly rewritten the military and diplomatic doctrine of the most powerful civilization in the galaxy, all without firing a shot or even being aware that a conflict had occurred. In the Great Hall of Philosophical Discourse on GGC Prime, a new saying gained popularity among scholars. Perhaps the ultimate form of warfare is not destruction, but absolute chaos. And in that domain, there is one species, however unwittingly, that stands as the undisputed master. Somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, Voyager 3.0 continued its programmed mission, its database of Earth's culture intact, its sensors recording the cosmos, utterly oblivious to the legend it had become. And on a small blue planet, circling an unremarkable yellow star in a distant spiral arm, humans continued their chaotic existence, completely unaware that they were now considered the most terrifying strategic minds in the known universe, simply by virtue of being themselves.